right, so everyone, hello once again. I'm sorry for my Russian because I'm a little bit underslept, and I'm really excited to be here, yes, and just to start, so today we are going to be looking at key stages of teaching academic writing. And could you please give me the feedback if you can see my screen? Just put a plus in the chat. Perfect, thank you. So I see that I'm probably the only person here who has 6 a.m., right? So I suggest that you help me with this workshop, because actually it's not a webinar, it's a workshop. So I do encourage you to take part in the discussion, and should you have any questions, please put them down in the chat. And if I have time, we're going to discuss them here. If not, probably we will just arrange with Olga concerning some feedback so that you could get all the answers you need. Okay, so basically today, this workshop originated as a part of a huge course, which is called Teaching Academic Writing Online. And basically it is a course of 6 workshops. Each workshop is devoted to different aspect of teaching writing. The problem is that usually when we go to a writing course, or when we are preparing for exams, or when we are teaching, usually writing is something which is given the secondary importance, right? And actually it is of secondary importance at the moment, unless you are the academic, or unless you have to do the writing, or unless you are a teacher of English. But anyway, the way we are taught writing is basically predisposed by the belief that, okay, right, writing is the way to practice vocabulary and grammar. And every time we are checking somebody else's writing, we are also looking at the presence or absence of certain grammar and vocabulary structures, so on and so forth. But is it basically the right approach? So let's have a look at something which is connected with writing apart from lexis and grammar, and something which might be much more important when you are doing academic writing, when you are teaching writing for exams, when you are preparing yourselves. Okay, so first of all, the thing which I would like to start from is basically argumentation. Yes. So I do encourage you not to start from teaching grammar and vocabulary for writing and so on. Yes, it will be later. The first thing is, critical thinking, thanks a lot. Yeah, so it is basically connected with the idea of critical thinking, and basically argumentation is the grounding of critical thinking, right? So the idea is that all of us, first of all, should give the content in our writing. As we know, English is the writer-responsible language. What does that mean? It means that a reader should get everything clear. It's not the role of the reader to decipher, to trying to work out what the writer meant in a sophisticated way. No, it is the role of the writer to get the message across. So that's why teaching argumentation, which is based on logics, is a good idea. First of all, what I would like you to do, please have a look at the 3 arguments given here. Could you please write the number of the most persuasive one in the chat? Just write 1, 2, or 3. Put 2 if you think that 2 is the most persuasive argument. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Perfect. Yeah, that's right. So everybody decided that it was 3. So why so? In argument number 1, basically, if it is an argument, we believe that someone said, although someone of the authority, the police, and it is context dependent, right? So because in some countries, police is more authoritative than in others. Anyway, it shows our, a seeming mistrust, let's say, seeming mistrust of the police, yes, and it means that we don't trust the police, yeah, so we don't think that this is the good, strong argument. In the second one, we don't trust the witness because we need to understand who this witness is. And in the third one, we are trying to combine both more subjective and objective judgment. in this case, particularly, we talk about witnesses and independent witnesses, and we also found the fingerprints, we also found the weapon. This example aims to illustrate the idea behind academic writing as well. When you are writing arguments, when you are thinking about argumentation, your argumentation should be more or less objective. It should consist of several parts, mainly two. One of them would be claim, and another part would be evidence this claim is supported by. If one of them is missing, of course, your argument is going to be the argument possible. Yesterday, I was listening to two politicians speaking, and one of them said, we should do it because I said that. Is it a good argument? But frequently, we can see things like that in our writings, yes, in the writings by our students. And that's why this is one more point which doesn't come easy, which doesn't basically come as something which is natural. Argumentation should be taught. This is the thing. Right. So what goes from this? Good arguments have two parts. One of these is a claim, another one is an evidence. So when we come back to argument 3, we will see that the claim is that John committed the crime. What is evidence? First of all, the claim of the witness. Second, the fingerprints, and then basically John's confession. So all of these things are like basically are predisposed to confirm that our claim is right. Of course, you don't have to come up with 3 or even 2. 1 is enough, but it should be solid, objective, and good evidence. So something which is considered to be logical, globally logical. So a good argument always has a why in this. This claim is true. Why? Because this is the evidence. It's based on common logics, as I said, and is never too emotional. Please try not to include your emotions in argumentation. Radical or ambiguous. Ambiguous, which means that in different contexts, it could be perceived differently. So when opting for arguments, please try to work out or come up with the arguments which are basically unambiguous, which basically mean one idea, not two. So no double standards, please, okay? Right. What could be a non-argument? There are a lot of non-arguments, one of which was an argument made by the politician. You should trust me because I said that. One of my favorite arguments is you have to invite Jane to your party because it would not be nice not to invite people. So this is a little bit, yeah, commonly it's not, but is it an argument? It's not an argument. The Bible is true, so you should not doubt the word of God. The word of God and the Bible are basically synonyms. So it's so-called like circular argument. Or basically one more thing which we have here, you have to save enough money to pay your bills each month because bills have to be paid. Amazing, common sense, yeah? We usually say, yes, cap, hello, yeah, so this is the thing. All right, so the idea is that your argument is not circular, that your claim and your evidence, they don't play the part to basically say the same thing, but they play the role in supporting one another. So, the next idea, which we would like to look at, because basically we have come up with some kind of the arguments, but first of all, we need to find out where to find these arguments. And usually this is, I think, one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest issues in teaching writing is lack of ideas. I don't have enough ideas, I lack ideas, I don't know what to do, and so on. There are a couple of techniques which you could basically implement in your writing, especially in academic writing, and they are also somehow connected with critical thinking. One of my favorite ones is free writing, and this is the type of writing which could help you overcome the writer's block. Why does the writer's block happen? It happens because we are overcritical to ourselves. And usually when we start writing, especially if we are teachers, but I think the same happens with our students, basically we turn to somehow like, when it comes to us, when it comes to our students, we start getting the ideas, we start coming up with the ideas, but unfortunately we don't deem these ideas relevant. We're saying, no, come on, this is not good, that is not good, and so on. So our task is, first of all, to brainstorm all the ideas, which we have. Lazy brain syndrome. Yes, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that, of course, we shouldn't label our brain as lazy, to be honest. Yeah, so we need to be like basically try to reach a kind of a compromise with our brain. So how we can do it? So first of all, free writing is writing for about 3 minutes non-stop. So you have a topic and you think, okay, I have nothing to say. And then you ask yourself, really? So you take a pen or basically you start typing. It's up to the person. And if you can do the blind typing, so or write, just take a pen and a piece of paper and start writing for 3 minutes non-stop. Time yourself. After that, stop your inner critic, look at what you have written and decide which ideas could be relevant. Some of them could be interesting, but they should be given a second chance. They should be given some more research. So don't stop yourself. This is a common bias to say, oh, my dear, ideas are not good enough. By the way, a good idea. When you are preparing someone for an exam, or when you are preparing for an exam yourself, or when you are doing something for the academic writing, I mean your own academic writing, the main idea is that you can research. Stop thinking that you are being tested all the time, you know, like this big brother is watching me, yes, like from 1984. No, this is not the case. You have the task to research. And basically, it's not only the right, it's the task. And you can Google, you can find ideas. Okay, at least go to Wikipedia if you don't want to look for some kind of relevant sources, yes? But at least find interesting articles. Go to interesting newspapers, go to interesting journals, find interesting ideas, read. Note down the ideas. So while you are preparing for your exam or while you're preparing your academic writing, you are free to research because writing is basically research, be it for first certificate, I mean, Cambridge first, or for, I don't know, like some kind of JSTOR academic publication or Scopus. So everything is based on research and we know that, but sometimes we forget about that with our students. Another thing, after free writing, of course, we have a huge heap of text and we don't know what to do with this text. Well, a good idea would be to be using mind mapping, which is a combination of multimodal text, yeah, some textual linguistic expression with pictures. And if you are a bad artist, if you are a bad basically, yeah, if you are a bad artist like me, let's say, so it is good, it is okay. So you can come up with your own symbols, you can come up with your own ideas, you can come up with your own codes for different ideas. If you're interested, you can go for sketching, yes, find out some principles of sketching, which will help you get better at mind mapping. And one more thing, which basically you could look at is what ideas are connected or may be connected with each other. Because when you see a plan 1, 2, 3, you sometimes fail to see the connection with the ideas. So you can come up with a spidergram, and looking at this spidergram, you can come up with more details, which will be helpful later when we talk about supporting statements. And then you can see the ideas between different parts of this spidergram. So don't underestimate diagrams as well. One more favorite task of mine, when you really do lack ideas, sometimes it happens, you are tired at 6 o'clock in the morning and so on, and you don't know what to do. This is the reverse brainstorming. It comes from business English or just business. When we have a problem and we don't know the solution, we go another way around. We decide to cause this problem. So how can we cause this problem? We have a topic. Is competition really good? Well, the idea is we can reverse the problem of competition. First of all, one of the ways to reverse it is to eliminate it completely. Imagine that there is no competition at all. Could you please help me now and write some ideas? If there is no competition, what might happen? Please put them down in the chat. What do you think might happen if there is no competition in the world, in any sphere? Don't limit yourself to any particular sphere. So please put your answers down in the chat. What might happen if there is no competition in the world? Yeah, no motivation, exactly. Yeah, degradation, okay, yeah. Okay. No development. Yeah, that's right. Okay. No progress. Okay. We are coming up with a little bit fatalistic ideas. Let's come up with something. No competition. Relax. We can finally relax. Yeah, so this is amazing. Yeah, just like this. Yeah, of course, no stress. Yeah, Marina, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so anyway, no communication. That's an interesting point. You see, this is the unusual connection. I would have never come up with this point, but this is an amazing point. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, so after that, you look at the list of ideas which you have, and you decide to say, okay, right, I have all these ideas, and now let's reverse them, and let's decide what things are good for us in terms of competition, and what things could be counterintuitive or basically counteracting. Yes, so something which could be really damaging and harmful to us. So basically, we are to look at something from another angle, out of the box. Right. One more favorite idea of mine, again, when you have no ideas, and this is not my idea, definitely, but the idea which I widely use is starbursting. You have a question and you have a topic. And again, we talk about competition. Highly competitive environment is beneficial for studying or working. And there are some questions in the star: how, why, when, where, and so on. Your task is to come up with questions starting from these words. How could competitive environment be beneficial? Who could competitive environment be beneficial for? For example, in this case, you are talking about basically, okay, stockholders. Who are they? So these people could be, first of all, like the people in business. Okay, how about their employees? So you think about all the people involved in this problem, all the people involved in this idea, why they are involved, when and in which context it could be beneficial, and your writing is getting a new depth. Of course, while you're brainstorming, don't forget to don't lose count of the ideas, don't forget to note them down, because after that, we are moving to the important point, which is relevance. And relevance is something pretty important, because you all remember the situation when you feel the flow, you know, when you're writing and finally this moment has come and you are feeling the flow, you're going with the flow, you're writing, you're feeling like writing today, only today, right now. So you write everything from the beginning to the end, planning, forget planning, structurizing. Okay, I know the structure. Okay, language, vocabulary. Okay, I have written something. I have used some sophisticated vocabulary, subjunctive. Okay, let it be. Right, best writing ever. And then you can submit this writing and get a low mark. And you're like, come on. Life is unfair. No, life is not unfair. The idea is after this kind of free writing, because basically if you have written this from the beginning to the end, this is the free writing, not the normal process of academic writing, which is about planning, argumentation, checking for ideas, all this boring stuff. But we have to do it because this is the procedure. And this is the procedure which leads us to success. So first of all, when we have the ideas and we are more or less content with these ideas, what should we do? First of all, we should decide if they are relevant to the main subject, if they are all to the point. And that's why you just put a question, an examination question or a topic next to it, and you look at where these ideas coincide, because there will be some ideas which are quite illogical, which are not relevant, and so on. In this case, I do suggest that you limit these ideas to a particular context. If you're talking about the idea of vaccination or immunization, please don't think about like immunization at a global scale. It's too wide. And how do you know what people think about immunization, for example, in New Zealand, or how do you know what people think about that in Zimbabwe? So basically try to limit it to your context, to the age group. Think about who the people like in benefit, or basically the people at a loss will be there. So the target audience, so decide who you're writing for. It's also important when you're writing essays. No, not as much as, for example, for articles, but anyway, it is important. So limit your ideas. Don't try to get the points only to the general subject, to the topic, yeah, because there is general subject and there is this specific idea. But try to basically always relate these ideas to the whole topic, not the topic in general about vaccination, but the topic about vaccination in this particular region. Yeah, so put it down, or advantages and disadvantages and so on. Okay, right. Another thing which we would like to focus on is relevance, but this time relevance inside the writing, because when you're planning, it's okay. You're like, okay, I'm relevant at all times, but how about relevance once you've written something? Because of course we will proofread and edit. So what I suggest you do now, please read through these sentences. Yeah, so read through this paragraph. The topic is discuss the pros and cons of aerobic exercises, give your opinion. This is one of the paragraphs. And I do suggest that you decide where the wrong sentence or sentences are. You can write the first 2 words of the sentence or sentences. Please put them down in the chat, look through, you have 1 minute for that. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, okay. Personal information, okay. Okay, thank you for the ideas. Yeah, exactly. Some of the sentences are not the best ones, and actually the ones in red are not the best ones. And why? Why is it so? Yeah, because I decided as a writer to focus on other ideas, for example, different from yours. Exercise is really good for one's physical and mental health. Why should we start a paragraph in the middle of the sentence like this? It is good for the introduction. It's too general. Strength training is important for maintaining muscle mass and improving bone density. Both muscle mass and bone density can decrease. One moment, we are talking about aerobic training, not workouts, not strength training. So this was irrelevant. Now speaking about personal information, you can use personal information. It is not forbidden if you are talking about if it is relevant to the topic. Of course, I think and so on, so are the things which should be avoided, but it depends on how academic your writing is. For example, if you're writing for first certificate, you can use I. But if you're writing for proficiency and if you're writing for the academia, of course, you should avoid I at all costs. So this is the thing. So please try to include I. So what I suggest about using I and basically first person in writing, try to include it only where you are required to write your opinion. So sometimes you have, if you remember the proficiency writing, you have 2 texts, you need to analyze them, analyze and critically assess the ideas of the authors, and in the final paragraph, just to add your opinion. So put I think, I guess, and so on. Sorry, I guess no go because it's non-academic, but all kinds of I assume and so on, try to put them into the last paragraph. Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one will be paragraph structures. So when we are writing a paragraph, to be relevant, sometimes we need to consider different structures our paragraphs might have. One of the easiest structures is PU, or sometimes I call it P, sorry. Okay, so what you do, first you start from the point, which could be your main argument. It's more general, usually. Then you add evidence, yes, so which supports this P, which supports the main point. Then you can add the example. Here it's given as explanation, but okay, it's for longer paragraph. And then you can use it or you can leave it if you like. So you can add the link to the next point. For example, we can do it by adding however blah, 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 blah. And this is the sentence which will link it. However, there are certain disadvantages. And in the next paragraph, you can write about disadvantages. So peel, point, main point, evidence or explanation, basically put together example and link to the next paragraph. If you don't feel like linking, just add PEE, no problem. One more favorite idea of mine is the hamburger. Again, topic sentence where you get the main point in general, supporting detail, as many supporting details as you need. It depends on the length of your writing, and conclusion and closing sentence, which could basically resonate with the topic sentence, or just like in Peel, it could actually be a linker to the next paragraph. But we will talk about cohesion a little bit later and linking. So this is the idea. Okay, right. The next thing which I would like you, one moment, please. Okay. If you know, yeah, sorry, coming back to the previous point, I'm sorry, I missed the point in the chat. Yes, aerobic and strength exercises are different. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Definitely, yes, probably, yeah. Or maybe I should give it a second try and research. But for me, strength exercises are workout exercises with weights. Aerobics is more cardio, right? So, but I don't know, maybe someone else here, we have some workout coaches, so probably you can write to us. All right, anyway, and send your pictures. So anyway, we continue to look at different ways to structure paragraphs, yes, and how we can put paragraphs inside our writing. Now we have different paragraphs and we have two ways to build our writing, our essays. One of them is vertical. For example, you need to discuss drawbacks and benefits, pros and cons or something. And this is quite common. This is what we do. Drawbacks, one paragraph, benefits, another paragraph, and then you could add the discussion or your opinion or whatever. Or horizontal, where you divide all these pros and cons by spheres. Economic sphere, pros and cons. Ethical, pros and cons. Social, pros and cons. I anticipate a question. Do I have to write pros and cons in every sphere? No, you don't have to if you don't see them, because this is your writing. You are the researcher, you are the author. It's up to you. But come up with as many spheres as you like. So the next time, please try to opt for horizontal writing rather than vertical one. Okay, let's move on to the next one, topic sentences. We will have a look at again, coming back to the structure of the paragraph, I would like you to look at a couple of texts on the following slide. Text 1 and text 2. Please decide which one has a better structure. Please put 1 or 2 in the chat. One with better structure. Please put 1 or 2 in the chat. Thank you, Elena. Second, okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just interested, those people who opted for 2, why did you decide to opt for 2? Just in a couple of phrases, could you please explain? Just put it down in the chat. Nobody opts for 1. That's interesting. Olga, yes, thank you. Okay, somebody opted for 1. Yes, that's right. Thank you. Okay. Just some ideas. Why number 2? No problem. Take your time, please. We are not in a hurry. The sun is dawning already, so Aha, we have linkers, good. Okay, Daria, yes, you have one, okay, All right, yeah. Just write short phrases why you think so, yeah? Okay, so while I'm waiting for your responses, I will come up with mine. First of all, I will break the biggest stereotype about perfect writing. The first one is more vivid. What does vividness mean, I wonder? I mean, not the dictionary definition, but what does vividness mean in terms of writing, yeah? Linkers, okay, oh, we will talk about linkers, okay, I love it. So now we will look at the ways, basically, how the way we should write and the way we think we should write are different. What I mean by this? Of course, the second paragraph looks more persuasive. Yes, so we have grandparents. They really love their children. Children really love their parents. They will never be, basically, they will never undergo any harm or whatever. But when we are writing, do you think that we should express ourselves in this way, or we will try to opt for a more solid structure? Let's look at my ideas. So first of all, what happens in sample one? As you remember, we had this peel or maybe sandwich paragraph structure. So we started from the topic, yes, and we had the topic sentence. Just a moment, I will remove. And we start from the claim that many parents, yes, in full-time employment especially, prefer to leave their children with grandparents when they work. Because why? Evidence? Because they feel their child will be safer with them. That's the argument. But again, probably we need some explanation why they will be safer. How come? In other words, the person knows something. They do not trust a stranger to look after their children, to feel confident that no harm. So the child won't get harm, will be safer, won't get harm. Yeah, because it's not a stranger. And it's actually the grandma or the grandpa. And here we also have the example with the statistics, which I will make a point on statistics later, because I don't think that, for example, statistics is suitable for, let's say, statistics is suitable for first certificate or advanced, Cambridge Advanced or Cambridge Proficiency, or even like IELTS if you don't have the statistics. I'm not talking about the first part of academic writing in IELTS. I mean the second one where you have to write the essay. Try to avoid statistics with numbers as much as possible. You can write statistically, comma, blah, 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 yes, and add some well-known statistics, but please don't go for numbers, which is strange. Where did you get these numbers from? Otherwise, you need to cite them, right? So the idea is, here we have the logical structure. We have red, which shows the topic sentence, the claim. We have green, which gives us the explanation, and we have orange, which gives us the example. Sandwich, just like this. What happens in the second one? And in the second one, we actually, when we are reading, we need to understand that we logically get the point of the writer. So if I am a confident reader, I want to find the topic sentence at the beginning for very obvious reasons. Okay, I'm looking for the obvious reasons. Grandparents really love their grandchildren and would never harm them. Let's stop here. Yes, it's true in most cases, but it's not written here that in most cases, right? Because we all know the situations when the opposite happens, unfortunately. Also, children really love their grandparents and feel comfortable with them. Really love. I really love chocolate. I really love my husband. Is it the same? I really love my cat. Of course, the third one is the real love, but love for chocolate, love for men, love for women, and so on. Yes, that's the thing. So is really love an argument? Put a plus in the chat if you think that I really love something. It's a real argument, which should be put in the discussion, which should be put in your writing. Yes, you can speak like that, but this is not for writing. Well, they really love and they have lots of experience, which is true, but sorry, already busted. Really love, really love. The next thing, coming back to linkers, because we're going to look at cohesion, but yes, it's opinion. Thank you, Anna. And when we are writing, let's remember, some of you have already insightfully written that it should be objective. Your writing should be objective, not really love writing, okay? So every time you are becoming too emotional about something, please stop and think about another way to express this idea with less emotional impact, okay? Just like this. Right, let's move on to the next part. And the next part is about topic sentences and supporting sentences. But basically, we have already discussed that. So please opt for the clear structure. It is boring, but it makes your writing predictable and understandable as a result. Topic sentence, an argument, supporting sentence, further ideas, and example illustrates the argument. I could also add the link here, but I could have added, but I haven't. So the link to the next paragraph, because we will talk about linking and cohesion a little bit further on, and about cohesion and coherence. Some of you have written that in this text, in this short text about grandparents, there were good linkers. But as you probably know, when we are preparing our students for IELTS, and when you're taking IELTS, there is one thing which examiners usually advise you against. They advise you against the overuse of linkers. What does overuse mean? It means that if you use however, moreover, nevertheless, and so on, in the same paragraph, there are 3 sentences, and each one of them starts from however, nevertheless, and therefore. It means that you don't know any other ways to connect ideas, which means that your writing is not good enough. Another thing, using all these linkers, too many linkers, doesn't sound cool. It sounds artificial. And in writing basically is more artificial than speaking. That's true, because it's like Latin. Nobody speaks like that. But your writing should try to be natural, at least try, yeah? So make an attempt. And that's why, apart from linkers, there are some other ways how to ensure cohesion and coherence. So cohesion meaning linking and logics. Coherence meaning logics, basically. So we can ensure cohesion by reference, and reference is basically, these are these small words which we are using, for example, pronouns, he. When we write he in writing, we mean something by he, right? So who is he? And we have to look back or forth in the text to find out the meaning of he or they. Who are they? They believe that it is, or they say that politicians should be, and so on. Who are they? Is this information contained in the text before they or after they, or probably outside the text? Or maybe we basically understand what it is about. So all of these are examples of the cohesion. Or when we say this means, what means? Of course, we refer to the previous ideas. Substitution, when we substitute some words by others or some ideas by others. So we develop a huge concept, yes, and concept would basically be the substitution. Today we will talk about the shell nouns, which will be a little bit later, and you will have a look at how we can substitute longer stretches of sentences without rephrasing them again and again and again. Conjunctions, as you mentioned, but please don't overuse conjunctions. Ellipses, when we basically don't use the whole phrase, but only a part of it. How do you feel about it? Okay. You don't say, I feel okay about it. That would sound unnatural. And in writing, not only basically in writing essays, ellipsis is not very common, because ellipsis is better for articles or for reviews, or basically for informal letters, because ellipsis is used for emotional impact, and essays are not that emotional. Okay, anyway, I included it here just for you to see the difference. Okay, and one more point to look at lexical cohesion, how we use synonyms, antonyms, hyponyms, and hypernyms to understand if we are still in the same topic. So the words which belong to the same lexical field means that basically we are still relevant. We are still writing to the point. Okay, let's have a look at how we decide on coherence. What ideas make it more coherent, what ideas make it less coherent, and so on. So the main idea is that, one moment, okay. anyone would agree that taking a modern bus or tram can be convenient, fast, and less polluted. So from the very beginning, we see that we are talking about bus or tram, namely modern bus or tram, and we are going to be talking about their efficiency. What helps us? Convenient, fast, and less polluted. This is the topic sentence, and everyone would agree is not an argument, so it needs further support. Let's go on. Looking at successful experience of highly developed cities, we can say that using public means of transportation can be also a good trend. Public means of transportation, it's about bus and tram, right? Also a good trend which is convenient, fast, and less polluted. Yes, so means one of them. We see that even people with high positions, okay, why? Take a subway, another way of another modern bus, tram, subway, okay? And it does make a good sense. What does it? It means taking a subway. And it emerges a good train, of people with high positions taking a subway. And which can save their cities, which cities? Maybe our cities, modern cities, from congestions and pollution. Just like this. So a lot of words here are basically trying to work out the idea on a more efficient use of public transport. Probably you have spotted that this writing is not very good. What do you think? Is it coherent? Is it logical? Please put a plus in the chat if you think it is logical. Or a minus if you don't think so. Actually, this is the piece of writing taken by or written by one of my students at the start of their writing career. So we will look at the ways how to put it. Yes, it's not very logical, but what's the problem? People with high positions, yeah, they come out of nowhere. And at the start, we are talking about convenient, fast, and less polluted. Yeah, so we talked about convenient, yeah, or a good trend. What is it about? It's about convenience. There was something about pollution. How about fast? So there is nothing mentioned about fast. Let's have a look at another way. This is what happened after the person has rewritten it. What does it mean? When I comment on the student's writing, congestions could mean that, but again, it's not very obvious, right? So the person doesn't actually mean that to the good extent, right? But we could imply that, yes. So if we have a certain bias to our student and we know that it's a good student, we actually will try to find the connections. But it's not obvious, yes, Olga, yeah. Anyway, but I do agree with you that there is certain connection. So what I encourage my students to do, I don't rewrite or cross out some ideas which I think are illogical. I encourage them to do it by themselves. So I basically highlight some ideas which are not very obvious, which are ambiguous. As we said, writing is never ambiguous. Writing is quite straightforward. And we decide to work it out by themselves. So what they have come up with is this. Please have a look at this piece of writing. This was the second attempt, and please put a plus in the chat if you think it is coherent and logical, and a minus if you don't think so. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Marina. Yes, Yana, thank you. More clear. I agree. There is scope for improvement. Yeah, thank you, ladies. Thank you. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what is happening. Of course, this is not the final draft. This is the second draft, but this is something done by the students themselves. This is not something written by me or whatever and given to the student as the golden standard or whatever, because I know that in writing there are no golden standards. Every writing is more or less imperfect. So that's the thing. unfortunately. And let's look at another way. My favorite task, which I always encourage my students to do, is upgrade and paraphrase. After writing, sometimes we look at the relevance, we look at the ideas which are more relevant, less relevant, we look at lexis and grammar in terms of their correctness. But how about what they say, what they rate, or basically what they label as language variety or range of grammar and vocabulary, or probably what we call more advanced language. So here, I do encourage you to participate and to come up with some interesting ways. So first of all, let's look at the ways how we can paraphrase something. For example, you don't like the idea, you highlight this idea of the student, and later you decide to ask the student how to do it. Of course, we usually paraphrase by using synonyms, antonyms, hypernyms, and hyponyms. So when we have a cat and an animal will be a hypernym and a cat will be a hyponym. So basically, you can use a part of the whole, yes? Another way is try to substitute the word people, because sometimes like people tend to overuse the word people in writing, and it's better to use some, let's say, hyponyms instead, like an individual or one, instead of writing people all the time, or they, whatever. So another way to come up with ideas is from specific to general and back. This is something I have just mentioned. Yeah, so when you write instead of people, you write an individual, or instead of an individual, you write people. Don't change all words. Sometimes when, especially in IELTS, oh, hello. Okay, especially in IELTS, where you have to paraphrase the task in the introduction, it's a really good idea not to mechanically paraphrase all the words, but to decide on which parts are key and paraphrase them. So don't paraphrase the words, paraphrase the concepts. Okay, and finally change the word forms. So if you have a noun, change it for verbs. If you have a verb, change it for the adverb or for adjective or whatever. Try to work out any possible ways, any possible solutions. It will be a plus to your karma as well. So a small task, very small task, I would encourage you to do some writing and paraphrasing. Please do not hesitate to write in the chat. You will get the task. Please read it through and decide on the key concepts, what words, what phrases are key, but don't focus on the words too much, focus on the ideas behind these words. I will give you a hint. So the words in red are actually the ideas which are the concepts which are deemed important. And finally, this is the paraphrasal by the student. I would like you to rate it. Please put a plus in the chat if you like it. 2 pluses if you like it a lot. Plus, minus if you are of 2 minds, and minus, minus. So please, you're able to rate it in any possible way. So please have a look and decide if it is a good paraphrasing of the original sentence or not. Yeah, now that's a downside, because I would be really happy to discuss it with you. Probably you could write why. Yes, just a couple of phrases. Natalia, yeah, could you please just share a couple of phrases? Why? Why so? The main idea is that we preserve the main idea, right? So is the main idea more or less preserved here? Probably it is. And the next thing, of course, yes, you may have some questions, because these are all the things which I take from my students, of course, with their permission, and bring them here, yes? And these are not my sentences or sentences by some like more educated people, yeah? So basically, I usually take it from the people who are learning, and I want to show you how different stages of development happen in writing. So of course, that's why there is nothing perfect. There is always scope for improvement. And if you want to criticize, you will always find something to criticize for. But it's not bad basically I would also put plus minus, yeah, maybe even a plus. It's a good one. Okay, no, not a problem, yeah, because we need to see the context to rate it correctly. Anyway, the main idea is paraphrase, but leave the idea the same, okay? Right, so as for the shell nouns, yes, the words which we are often missing, decision, possibility, notion, issue, belief, if in the topic sentence you have already put the whole, or probably in the introduction, you have already added the whole long phrase, which you don't want to paraphrase. Instead, you can put this notion or this idea, this principle, this possibility. So shell nouns are amazing for writing because they help us to be concise, precise, and relevant, just like this. Okay, right. So when we come up with conclusions and introductions, there are several important tips because we are nearing the end. First of all, you need to clearly state the topic and give a brief outline. Explain the importance, why people may have different opinions of it, why it may be ambiguous, why it may be controversial, and so on. Never write new ideas in the introduction, what it means. Don't write, so you have brainstormed some ideas. These ideas are for the main body paragraphs. They are not for the introduction. Of course, some people have a strategy to include what they are going to write about later on in their writing, and they very briefly outline the main ideas or the main pros of something. It's a possibility, but if you don't feel like writing that, just don't write that. Never, if you start from asking a question, because I'm really skeptical about asking a question in the introduction, but it is possible. So I never do it, but this is my personal opinion. But if you ask a question in the introduction, make sure you answer it in the conclusion. This is how you will encourage the cohesion of academic writing. Use paraphrasing techniques, definitely. Don't try to include every detail. Of course, 2 or 3 sentences is enough. And when it comes to conclusion, remember that it summarizes the main points, not the whole writing. And please don't write any call for action in the essays, because call for action, just do it, Nike and so on. This is for articles, not for essays. Okay, right. And another thing is, final note on my favorite topic, punctuation. Please pay attention where to traditionally put commas, and something which is really different from Russian, yes, and something which could be noted. For example, we put commas before or after adverbial clauses and groups. So basically these clusters of words which show us how something happened, when something happened, or where something happened, usually at the start of the sentence. Recently, comma, the number of service enterprises, blah, 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 blah. Although seemingly unlikely, but I think it's similar to Russian. Some businesses fail to earn sufficiently, however. So don't hesitate to put a comma after the words and clusters of words and clauses, meaning how, when, and so on. And my favorite task is putting a comma with and. So if you have 2 things you are talking about, a list of 2 things, no comma is necessary. But if you have a list of more than 2 things, for example, many US firms attempt to tap the global presence of China by signing contracts with China, India, and Latin America all together. Yeah, just like this. So we have 3 of them, China, India, and Latin America, a comma before and. In the next one, China and Latin America, no comma. So this is basically, these are the main ideas. Of course, this is not everything. This is not everything you should know, of course, because it's impossible to put it in 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, this is our favorite Oxford comma. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. This is widely debated nowadays with linguists and people alike. Yeah. So what I would like to show you is basically my writing course, which is, there are actually 2 writing courses. One of them is academic writing course online, which is in 6 weeks, and it starts on the 21st of November 2020. We have this course on Saturdays. So far, we haven't decided on the time because participants can come from different parts of the globe. Usually the groups are quite international, but it depends. The cost is here, yes, and there is also a promo code, so you can get it actually a small portion cheaper, but whatever. The contents are, we start from argumentation. So we will have the whole session for basically critical thinking, argumentation, and ways to analyze the argument given by someone, something which you might need for proficiency exam if you are preparing other people, or you are preparing for proficiency exam yourself, or you are in academia. I mean, you're working for the university, you are the researcher. Second, we will talk about brainstorming and relevance, then structure and cohesion, language upgrade, introductions and conclusions, punctuation, and feedback. Feedback is about giving feedback to your students and giving feedback to yourself. And another, my favorite course is actually writing for exams, which I love a lot. And there are 5 sessions. In each session, we are dealing with a different writing genre: essays, articles, reviews, reports, proposals, and letters. The starting date is here. So if you feel like doing it, please join. This is my email. You can write by email or via Facebook, whatever. Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I do hope that everything is fine and you liked the presentation and you have found something important for you, which is crucial for me. Thanks a lot.